When it comes to movies, we all have our personal favorites that we know aren't great films, but we find them incredibly entertaining and rewatchable. I call those Taco Bell movies. They're cinematic fast food. Maybe you call them turn off your brain movies. Maybe you call them guilty pleasures. I don't feel guilty about the movies I like, so I just call them Taco Bell films. Today, I'm gonna give you my 10 favorite Taco Bell films of all time. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Sean Chandler, and I started this channel because I was driving everyone around me crazy talking about movies way too much. If you can relate, you're probably in the right place to consider clicking that subscribe button. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your 10 favorite Taco Bell movies. Of course, we are going to have wildly different lists. Of course, you're going to see some of my picks and be like, that movie sucks. That's the entire point of this list. When I say Taco Bell movie, what I mean is a movie that is highly enjoyable for me, highly rewatchable for me, a movie that I don't even feel the need to defend it. I know it's dumb, but it's the movie they intended to make. It's not a movie that's so bad it's good. It's a movie that they made dumb entertainment for a specific audience, and I just happen to be that specific audience. With that said, here are some of my honorable mentions. First up is Twister, a movie about Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt as good tornado chasers battling Carrie Elwes, the evil storm chaser. It's ridiculous. It's also a ton of fun to watch them chase tornadoes, a cow fly through the sky. Second honorable mention is going to be Taken. This is a movie that some people kind of remember it as just like a really fun Liam Neeson action thriller. There's some really dumb stuff about this movie. If you rewatch the first 20 minutes, you kind of forget there's this whole subplot about him buying a karaoke machine for his daughter, but as soon as she gets taken and he delivers that incredible monologue, it just takes off. It goes into that action thriller that you remember that's awesome. Third one on here is going to be Kickboxer. I'll be honest here, this is a little bit of a placeholder as basically my Jean-Claude Van Damme selection. I just love his classic from like 1988 until about 1996. Almost all of his martial arts movies I thoroughly enjoy. Some of them like Bloodsport and Time Cop I just think are pretty good movies. And then there's ones like Kickboxer that are pretty ridiculous genre films with some awesome fights, little sequences where he breaks into a little dance number that are just so much fun for me to watch. So there's my honorable mentions. Let's get started with my top 10. And if I don't mention some movies in here you think I'm going to mention, I probably just think that it's a good movie, not a Taco Bell movie, or I just don't rewatch it enough to qualify for this list. With that said, here we go. Kicking things off is Deep Blue Sea. If you don't know what this movie is, it's a ridiculous shark movie from 20 years ago starring Thomas Jane, LL Cool J, and Samuel L. Jackson. Think, what if The Meg was a little bit more fun, a little bit more self-aware, and went for it a little bit more? Kind of at the central premise, there's some kind of genetically engineered sharks, an underground shark facility, and of course, eventually these sharks get loose and they're trying to eat everybody and the people have to try to escape. It has all the ridiculous antics you want. LL Cool J is playing this over-the-top character. There's this scene in it where Samuel L. Jackson gives this epic monologue. I don't want to spoil what happens at the end of this scene, but let's just say it's a perfectly Taco Bell way to end a Samuel L. Jackson epic monologue. All in all, it's dumb and it's a lot of fun. Coming in at number 9 is Live Free or Die Hard, or Die Hard 4.0, depending on where you live. After over a 10-year break, they came back with another Die Hard film. A lot of people really didn't like this one because they said that, John McClane turns into the Terminator. It's too glossy. He's riding on the top of airplanes. He jumps a truck into a helicopter at one point in time. There's a bunch of just over-the-top, ridiculous stuff where John McClane is just too unstoppable inside of the film. Hence why it, for me, is a very fun Taco Bell movie. It abandons what made the original film so good. It abandons what made Die Hard with a Vengeance so good, but it's its own kind of thing that I can enjoy on its own terms, which is its ridiculousness inside of it. So yeah, I totally get the people that don't like this one, but those same reasons are why I enjoyed it. It's a film that when my wife and I first watched it in the theaters, we were like, that's just a dumb movie that I just had an absolute blast with it. Next up is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Much kind of like my Van Damme pick before, this is kind of my rom-com pick for the list. It's very formulaic. It's the classic formula for these movies. You get two hot celebrities that are very fun and charismatic, come up with a ridiculous scenario where two opposites are put there where they will drive each other crazy with a premise designed to drive them each other crazy, and then let charismatic hot people fall in love with each other. That's what the movie is. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, it's a very generic early zeros rom-com, and it's a movie that I enjoy quite a bit. There's any number of other movies that came out around this time period that kind of follow the exact same template, the exact same formula, that equally could have been on this list, whether you're talking about Sweet Home Alabama or Just Like Heaven. There's a number of them that could potentially have been here. This is probably the one that I find the most rewatchable, that I have the most fun with. A lot of people pick on Matthew McConaughey for this time period in his career. Some of these movies are actually quite a bit of fun. I have a lot of fun watching these two people, Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey, try and drive each other crazy inside of it. It works for me. It puts a grin on my face. So it makes the list. Number 7 is Con Air. Nicolas Cage plays an army ranger who is attacked in a parking lot with multiple men who have knives, and he accidentally kills one of them in self-defense. But because his hands are lethal weapons because of his training, he goes to jail for a year. He's never seen his daughter face to face. He's flying home on Con Air when the cons take over the plane, and he must be the hero to save the day. You just look at the cast of this movie and you know you are in for just an insane time. You take that premise with this cast and it is a delightful little ridiculous film. You got to be able to just buy into the concept. You got to be able to accept the stupidity of the premise. And as soon as you do that, it's quotable. You have Nicolas Cage all jacked up in a wife beater with long flowing hair, beating up Danny Trejo and John Malkovich. Dave Chappelle is inside of this one. You got Cole Meany, John Cusack. You got Bubba from Forrest Gump inside of it. So many more people in addition. It's stupid. It is amazing. It's action-packed. It's got all the one-liners, everything that you want from a ridiculous 90s rated R action movie, all in this one movie. I definitely recommend this one. Then we have Jurassic World. This is actually one of the two movies that caused me to invent this phrase, Taco Bell movie. At its premise, the idea that dinosaurs weren't interesting enough, therefore they had to find a way to make dinosaurs more fun, let's invent a new genetically engineered dinosaur that can camouflage itself in any number of other very dangerous things. And we also want to weaponize dinosaurs. Everything about the premise of this movie's pretty ridiculous and doesn't make a lot of sense. But you do get dinosaurs roaming through Jurassic World eating people. You do get Chris Pratt on a motorcycle with velociraptors side by side with him, and you do get Chris Pratt teaming up with velociraptors and the T-Rex from the first Jurassic Park to battle the Endorexsaurus or whatever it's called in the finale of the film. Ridiculous, yes. But stuff that I just go, yes, when I'm in the mood for ridiculous, that is my brand of ridiculous. I have so much fun with this movie. It's incredibly rewatchable for me. I know a lot of people, they watch it and it's just too stupid. A lot of people watched it and they went, oh, you just abandoned the grandeur of the original film. You abandoned the complex, interesting characters that we had. You abandoned the moral dilemmas about cloning and bring all the ideas that made the original film so good. You just threw them out just so that you could have dinosaurs fighting dinosaurs with hot Chris Pratt. Yeah, I am totally fine with that. If this movie wasn't in the Jurassic series and it was just Chris Pratt on a motorcycle with velociraptors battling a genetically engineered dinosaur, I would still love that concept, so I don't want to hold it against it that it just happens to be tied to one of the great adventure films of all time. So, the movie that possibly invented the Taco Bell label, Jurassic World, of course, has to be on this list. Real quick, before I give you my top 5, here's a couple more runner-ups. First up is going to be Hard to Kill. This is another one that's a little bit of a stand-in. I love the classic late 80s through mid 90s Steven Seagal films. A couple of them I just think are really good movies, like Under Siege, and then there's a whole bunch of them that are just fun watching him do his ridiculous shtick. The one that sticks out to most of me is the most rewatchable is Hard to Kill, where he's in a coma for 7 years. He wakes up out of it. William Sadler's an evil congressperson that he's got to take out, so he's out for revenge. And it's got Kelly LeBrock is inside of it. A bunch of just ridiculous scenarios for him to use his Aikido skills. I love these types of movies, and him in full over-the-top Steven Seagal fashion in this movie. Tons of fun for me. Second, or my final honorable mention on here is going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. I think the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie from 1990 is just a pretty good movie. I guess the parents complained about the Ninja Turtles using weapons and it was too dark of a film. So with this one, everything got a little bit more cartoonish. There's like dance numbers inside of it. Vanilla Ice is in the film singing a ninja song. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. The Ninja Turtles barely ever even pull out their weapons. They're like glued in place, but it's just so energetic. It's so lively in what it's trying to do that it's actually still a really fun film despite its major obvious flaws. Kicking off our top 5 is Commando. This might be the first movie that I watched and I thought to myself, this is just stupid. And I love this. I watched it with one of my buddies named David Brown, and we were making fun of it as we were watching it, but at the same time, I was like, man, this is just so much fun. And it's not like they didn't know what they were making. They knew they were taking the Arnold Schwarzenegger persona and taking it to the extreme level. If you haven't seen the movie, basically Arnold Schwarzenegger is this guy named John Matrix. He's retired from being a commando. His daughter, Alyssa Milano, is kidnapped so that they can force him to go assassinate someone. But instead, he decides to take the war to them. It's just jam-packed with one-liners. And like everything Arnold Schwarzenegger says is a one-liner. It's some quotable little line.
Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired.
And then, I mean, it features him jumping out of a plane while it's in flight. It features him like having a pile of cops get on top of him and he just goes like this and they all fly off of him. He runs up to a car, just tears a seat out of it and jumps into it. And then the finale of the movie is literally him with a machine gun taking on an entire army. There's no effort for him to like hide behind anything. He just stands in the open like mowing guys down. It's insane. It's ridiculous. There's a sequence where he hides in a shed and they just mow the thing down with machine gun fire and then like, let's check on him. Of course, he hasn't been shot and takes him out. He throws a pipe through someone at one point in time. He flips over a car with his bare hands. I mean, just out, like insane, out of your mind, like what they came up with for this film. But boy, is it a ton of fun to watch. At number 4 is Hobbs and Shaw, as well as Fast 5. I didn't want any one franchise to get multiple slots on this list, so I'll just say the Fast and Furious franchise as exists right now is one of the franchises that invented this Taco Bell label that I use. Specifically, Fast 5 is the movie that came up with it. Hobbs and Shaw that came out about a month ago, it just took what Fast 5 did and just took it to this next level of absolute absurdity. They didn't care how far they went. They just wanted to entertain you by having Jason Statham and The Rock duel each other with insults, fight bad guys, fight each other, and any other insane thing that they could do to put a grin on your face. That's what they put in this film. Whether you're talking about The Rock in the back of a truck lassoing a helicopter and holding it by hand, him teaming up with his Samoan brothers to battle a bunch of guys, an army of guys, so many ridiculous things inside of this film, but it's all there for the purpose of entertaining, and they went for it. Well, like I said, this one was tied with Fast 5, another movie that like, they took the Fast and Furious franchise and they went, hey, we got kind of a ridiculous franchise here. Let's acknowledge that and go for it. So they brought The Rock into the mix. They made it Ocean's 11 with fast cars, and it ends with a chase in Rio with 2 sports cars pulling a safe through the streets, and it is Awesome. Real quick, before I give you my top 3 Taco Bell movies of all time, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Share your favorite Taco Bell movies of all time. Remember, we're all gonna have different lists because inherent to the concept is that they're movies that are pretty ridiculous, and we all will look at other people's lists and be like, no, that movie was just too dumb for me. Like, no, I couldn't buy into that one. That's the whole idea. We all have our different cinematic junk food that we love. They're movies designed to entertain us, and they entertain some of us, but not all of us. Also, after this video, if you want more of my top 10 list, check out this playlist up above. It's got my 10 favorite movies of all time, my favorite sequels of all time, my favorite trilogies of all time, a bunch of that type of stuff right up there. If you've enjoyed this video, you'll definitely love something in that playlist. In third place is Rocky IV. Now, the original Rocky won Best Picture. This was a movie that had serious dramatic layers to it that people took very seriously. Now, as the sequels went along, they went more and more into over-the-top 1980s extravagance. And for me, this is peak ridiculous Sylvester Stallone, as you have Apollo Creed being killed by a roided-out Russian. And so Rocky goes to Russia to defeat the Russian and end the Cold War. You even get a speech from Rocky saying that if I can change and you can change, everybody can change. It is a ridiculous movie filled with montage. I mean, this movie has more montages than I have fingers on it, whether they're a montage of him being sad, of him remembering the previous movies, of him training, followed by another one of him training, followed by another one of him training, and then the final fight montage. So many montages inside of this movie. It's not like a film that's designed to be, well, what the original Rocky film was, but it is a film designed to put a grin on Sean Chandler's face. This is by far the Rocky movie that I've rewatched the most when I'm in the mood to just pump myself up to get ready to work out, or like if I work out from home, the movie I'm most likely to put on while working out, Rocky IV. Our runner-up is Armageddon. Before Michael Bay was blowing up cities with Transformers, he tried to blow up the Earth with a gigantic asteroid flying towards the Earth, and only Bruce Willis and his team of oil drillers can save the Earth by being trained on how to be astronauts in a weekend and then being turned into space drillers. The movie is ridiculous. It's got this over-the-top Aerosmith soundtrack. It's packed with moments where you go, what? I don't think that's how that would work. And it is amazing. While it's constantly having fun with the concept, it also plays it dead serious. It has very sentimental moments inside of it. It has kind of the classic Americana Michael Bay shots of people watching news broadcasts with American flags in the background. It has heroic deaths. Also, while you have Steve Buscemi going crazy in space and shooting a machine gun everywhere and people doing moon jumps, but it manages to pull it all together into some Taco Bell greatness. But the Taco Supreme is Independence Day. Now, this is a massive blockbuster film that a lot of people love, but if you stop and think about it, it's a movie where like a huge percentage of the human population dies, all while the movie plays with this kind of fun, jovial tone. It's cracking jokes. It'll have moments where it plays it as a joke as a group of people dies. It also is a movie where you have this alien technology, humans fly up into space with a Macintosh that could not work very well with Windows computers at the time. They fly up into space, link up this Mac computer with the alien operating system and give it a virus somehow without ever having actually used the alien operating system or knowing the alien language. And somehow this is able to take out this whole array of alien ships. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. With all that said, this movie is amazing. In a lot of ways, this is a movie that kind of has set the stage for what blockbuster films have done for the last 24 years. If you look at kind of its template of like, let's blow up cities, sky beams that you see in all of these superhero movies. You have cities being blown up, sky beams. originates with this film, where they started to be able to have CGI combined with the model work to be able to do mass scale destruction like you never really could have done before. Add to that, this is where Will Smith became the legendary Will Smith. Now, he was the Fresh Prince, he was a bad boy, he was a rising star, and this is where he became A-list, the guy that we know who he is now, of just like master of charisma, love him in these types of roles. It really started here, where we went to that next level of superstardom. It solidified Jeff Goldblum as this great addition to the 90s blockbusters. And then, of course, Bill Pullman as the president, delivering one of the great speeches of all time inside of any movie.
Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
So it's a movie that is ridiculous. But it's also a movie that was incredibly influential when it came to blockbusters. It's incredibly enjoyable. It's very rewatchable. And man, it is a movie that just comes to a satisfying conclusion in the end. So for me, this is the Taco Supreme. If you enjoyed this video, remember to check out that playlist right over there with more top 10 lists, favorite movies, favorite sequels, favorite trilogies, all that fun stuff right over there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much. And keep eating Taco Bell.